Hello again and welcome to Danwhitebooks, the book review channel where we add insights into the worlds of literature for both those who do read and those who don't. Today's book is a very popular modern work that is currently still ranking high in the Amazon book charts. You may have heard of it yourself, you may even have read it. Today I review Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. The Midnight Library is a book that centralises around the tale of Nora Seed, a woman in her 30s who has lost all hope in living, and on one particularly bad day where negativity and despair claw at every action around her, she takes an overdose on her antidepressants. This may sound a little heavy, but let me start this review by saying that this is not a book of despair and harrow, but instead one of hope, persistence and acceptance. Nora awakes to find herself in a library, a place with hours and hours of books that seem to span on forever. As she walks forward, she's greeted by her school librarian, Mrs. Elm, where she is told that each book represents a life unlived, one of her own lives that she never pursued. She need only choose one to undo any regrets she may have. Once she has found her perfect life, she will never return to the library and will instead forget any of it ever existed. This is an incredibly interesting concept and is one of the main reasons I picked this book up in the first place. Incredible as it is neither wasted, for despite Nora being able to undo past regrets in life, the solution to her happiness and her will to live is not a simple one, and through living the regrets of her past, she realises that things are not all she thought them to be. Nora, as I'm sure like us all, has certain regrets in life. Nora's own regrets are so powerful that they drain her will to live, and upon first entering the library she does not see the point and shuns any notion of going back to being alive. She wants to escape her feelings and does not care for the answer of what if. The librarian in this book, known as Mrs. Elm, slowly and patiently answers Nora's questions, and slowly, one after the other, you venture with Nora to lives and decisions where regret is eradicated. However, it is not all as it seems. The perspective offered by these counter lives is often one that is unsatisfactory, and despite Nora convincing herself she would be happier with things like fame, success, and money, when living these lives she still feels unhappy and notices the events in her root life have wildly changed. In one case she blames the death of her cat on her being a bad pet owner, but it is later revealed that her cat suffered a chronic illness that was never diagnosed, and it was only her looking after him in such a manner that allowed him to live so long in the first place. In a life where she pursues fame via music, she learns that her brother has succumbed to alcoholism and has committed suicide. Each life, despite being what she thought she wanted, offers a different perspective to the reality she had pictured in her head. Depression can do this. You sit there interpreting people, events and situations through a completely jaded light. Life gets dark and everyday situations are warped only to feed the negativity you can think no less of. I haven't looked this up, but I feel it is clear author Matt Haig has likely experienced mental trauma in his past, because his portrayal of main character Nora Seed and her own depression is written in a very understanding and heartfelt manner. Matt Haig portrays a beautiful feeling of empathy in Nora and captures the hopelessness, despair and polarised thinking a person can go through when under such mental strain and agony. This is a book primarily of perspective, of how we as humans can be convinced without ever having clarity that alternative action would have been better for us. We are blinded by only the positive outcomes we wish to see for events that have never transpired, and as such wallow in the pity of our own failed actions. It can be a dark place. Nora learns that life must be lived, not arduously defined, and that she must make the most of her present situation, not weigh herself down with events and lives that never came to be in her present. She learns that the little gestures she had made throughout her time on Earth had affected people in ways she would never dared to imagine. As another author said, big events turn on small hinges, and personally I believe that the small actions a person can take can spread the positivity this world at times so desperately needs. So yes, I really enjoyed this book. It walked through the dark and came back out in the light and offered a different perspective to regretful thinking that can at times cripple us. It is not a perfect book. There are a few actions that seem overly convenient for the plot, and at times I feel it does run into a few plot holes, but nonetheless, this was still a beautifully crafted work that near perfectly emphasized the negative feelings a person can experience, and how sometimes what we perceive to be a better outcome is only that of a fabricated bias in our minds. With this considered, I would rate this book a 91 out of 100 and would certainly recommend to any reader. This is a very easy to read book and flows effortlessly. It is structured with short chapters that keep the pages turning. Should you be wanting to read a book this year, and if you often struggle to finish books you start, then certainly give this one a try, because I'm sure it will bring you much joy. Now, before we go, I'd just like to add a final mention. This book hit me right in the heart, and I will admit, as it came to a close, I got rather upset. Nora realised something I think I realised a long time ago, and that is the simple belief in the love, care, and persistence of others. When one is shrouded in darkness, it is enveloping and near impossible to see any type of light. Should one have the love of others as I did, despite me not realising it at the time, eventually the darkness can be abated. And although it is very easy to warp every reality in your head to the conclusion that no one cares and that no one wants to help you, the truth is, there are always people that wish to help. There are always lights, even in the strongest of dark. My friends, thank you very much for watching.